What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Blog Podcast, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. But we don't just talk NWA here. No, sir. No, we talk about all wrestling. And this week, I'm very pleased to turn off the music and introduce my guest, who is the proprietor, the owner, the promoter of Epic Pro Wrestling, one Mr. Andrew Pesina. And as soon as I can get the screen to work, Andy, what is up, my friend? How are you today?
I'm glad I'm of like a Mister status now. That's it's
You ain't
kind of
a
scary. I'm old.
you ain't a little boy anymore, man. It's
I
weird,
am on the wrong side of 35. I will say that.
and it cracks me up because I remember when you were a younger man. I don't want to say a child because you were a
I
teenager.
was kind of a child. 15 years old.
Sure,
16 is when I broke into it. I mean, I'd been going to shows before that. I don't want to keep talking about my past, but
we always go
um,
back to it.
you knew me when I was a juvenile delinquent. So now you know me as a troublemaking adult. So
Well, I think we live in the time and age where we need more troublemaking adults. Things are getting a little bit out of hand, so I'm glad
I
for
can't deal with the consequences of being a troublemaking adult anymore. So I'm
you.
trying to be straight laced. You
That's good,
know,
man.
I got a lot of things going on in life that are already stressful enough. Like stressful to the point where I haven't been able to make this show on Saturday a main priority in my life. But you know what it is. And yeah, and it's funny you were talking about the NWA. You cover NWA stuff, but also other stuff. Before this, I was watching an NWA Wildside match with AJ Styles and David Young, and
Link me, brother. I gotta go check it out.
I will. Do you want to watch it now, or do you want to?
No, no, no. We'll
Okay, I'll send it to you after. But it was a good match, and like I remember when I was a kid, and I was like a kid, when I was a teenager, and I was watching NWA TNA at the time, and when it went to Fox Sports One for Impact, like I would see David Young on these shows, and I would never be like fully into his matches. I always thought he was kind of like a slow, boring kind of wrestler and all that.
sure.
And it's am I still on?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay.
You're good.
It
You're
says
good.
connection loss, and I'm having trouble posting the link on a social media. But anyway, yeah, David Young never really like thrilled me, when I was younger. But I watched this match with AJ Styles, and it was a really exciting match. It was like a 10-minute time limit kind of thing, but it was like 8 minutes aired because it was a TV
Sure.
show. But it was like really exciting, and it was like one of those matches where it's like I don't want to be sounding like my predecessors, being like, oh, these kids today, they don't know how to work, blah blah blah, and this and that. Wrestling was so much better back in my day. Okay, it's posted and all that. But like, man, like 8-minute matches back then were like still really fun,
Yeah.
because like it was move, move, move. But nowadays it's like everyone thinks it's got to be a certain formula. It's like shine, cut off, heat, come back, finish. It's like just it felt like there was more variety back in the day. At least in the 2000s. I feel like that's when wrestling in ring work peaked.
Well, I mean, if you think about it too, and it's like we're getting like cut and paste, and cut paste and cut paste when it comes to wrestling. Like when it's studio style of wrestling, whether it's WWE style of wrestling. Yes, there are guys who come out and make a difference. We've talked about in the past some of the guys that broke out in PWG, some of the guys that broke out in ROH. But like by and large, especially with the WWE system now, right? Because not only are they grabbing first in line level talents from college, but they're grabbing independent wrestlers and they're all kind of molding them into that WWE style. And again, I feel like there's a flavor for everybody, but
Yeah.
most of what we're going to see from at least the WWE is going to be very reminiscent of what they've been doing. It's the same people, like the people who are in charge of the WWE right now. Look at the guys, the coaches at the performance center. I mean, Steve Carino and Albert and it's the same guys that have been producing the talent for the last 10 years there.
it feels like it's become more corporate
Yeah,
adjacent, where it's like, okay, well, you guys come out, you do your entrances, one of you waits in the ring for like 4 minutes while we're doing commercials, which is really fucking stupid because like I don't think anyone's really talked about this in wrestling yet, right? Like we have all these theories about why wrestlers are getting injured so often,
yeah,
especially WWE. Well, how about the fact that you have wrestlers come out after they've warmed up, they go in the ring and they're fucking standing in the ring. Most of the times at WWE TV, the lights are down and there's nothing going on. They're playing ads and the wrestlers just in the ring and they're cooling down and they're having adrenaline dumps, right? And that's not good. You got to like sometimes wrestlers will just like jog in place and stretch a little bit, but that shit's not good for the performer, right? And like I feel like that format, like that corporate friendly format, hurts wrestlers in WWE at least. And then you have them setting up matches in specific ways where it's like, okay, we're gonna do 2 minutes of action, then you're gonna do a move. One of you goes to the outside, then we go to commercial, blah blah blah. And it's just like that feels like what WWE is now. And I get it. Some people might like that for some reason, but it's also like I feel like there's a lot of people, like you said, like gravitating toward that style in a way. But I also feel like it's because, when you look at wrestling over the last, what is it now, 25 years when WCW and ECW shut down,
yeah.
like, think about that. Like, holy shit, I was 13 when that happened. And now it's a quarter century later, and we're seeing the ramifications of what that did to the professional wrestling industry. Like, for years, most people growing up only had WWE.
Yeah.
Some might have watched TNA, but TNA, when they had Vince Russo around, was trying to be, WWE in the late '90s Attitude Era shit, and that was their perception of wrestling. And we have like a generation of wrestlers coming up who grew up on that and they've been conditioned on that. Whereas before, it was like in the early 2000s when we were going to shows a lot and we were like young men in our prime. Not to say we're over the hill
Thank
geezers,
you. I
but
appreciate that.
we might have some gray in our hairs, but
Hey, man.
um, I'm
Fuck
just saying
yeah.
I have them too. I just cover them up. Um, but no, but like wrestlers from that era, like Samoa Joe, Super Dragon, and shit, like they were heavily influenced by different types of wrestling, and a lot of wrestlers at that time were too. And it feels like that's kind of lost on like the generation that grew up on just WWE. But I feel like in the next few years we're going to see a change. What with like you think about this, like kids who are like 12 years old when New Japan came to America, like in 2017, they're
Yeah.
like in their 20s now. Like kids who grew up on who first watched AEW are starting to become adults. There's going to be a shift in the next few years because we're going to be seeing different like types of people who were into different types of wrestling from a younger generations, I should say. I'm tripping all over my words, excuse me. No, I'm saying like younger generations are going to be way more influenced, and that kind of gives me hope for wrestling in the future. And I don't think we're eventually going to be like all everyone's just trying to be WWE style. I think eventually there's going to be newer minds coming into the fold and having fresh ideas, which I think is very much needed because so many promotions try so hard to be like WWE. And it's like, listen, do we really need in-ring fucking promos like that take up 10 minutes of fucking showtime and shit? Like, come on, we don't need that on the indies anymore.
The other thing you touched on, and I want to jump, all into it, is the injury aspect of pro wrestling. And it seems like today there's more career threatening injuries. We're hearing about them all the time. I mean, Kevin Owens right now, we don't know if he's ever going to come back to wrestling because of how bad his neck injury has been. And he's not the only guy to do that. And the WWE has been toning down its wrestling. They're doing less live events. They're limiting matches on these cards. Royal Rumbles this weekend. There's probably going to be like 5 matches total, including
I
the
think it's like
Rumbles.
three.
Yeah.
There's two
So
rumbles and like one popcorn match.
and when you think about it like that, in the aspect of like, in pro sports, you get ready and stay ready. In pro wrestling, like you said, even the introduction, you're sitting there waiting for 5 minutes during commercial break to face your opponent after you've been in the back warming up. And as you've competed in mixed martial arts. I used to wrestle in high
Jiu-jitsu.
school. We Uh-oh. Where'd you go? That was weird. It booted you out.
Oh man, maybe it was my internet connection.
Well, you're good now. You're here.
Anyway, yeah, I did. I correction. I didn't do mixed martial arts, or at least I never had a sanctioned fight on the record. I'll say that, but I've done
Okay.
jujitsu tournaments, so just
I
wanted to correct.
apologize. Well,
No,
you know,
I
I
didn't
didn't.
want people to think I'm trying to come off as a badass or anything like that.
That's fair, and that's
Yeah,
that's respectable.
thank you.
But at the
I
same
am
time,
though.
competing in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournament or competing in a high school wrestling, like you get warmed up before your match.
Yeah.
You don't sit there and cool off and then start grappling. You know, in both.
Any type of athletic endeavor that you're doing, like even if like it's something like skateboarding, right? You can't just like go around skate for like 10 minutes and then just chill for like 40 and then go back out there and do that. You can't like it's really hard to really articulate for me because I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough to be speaking on that kind of matter. But ultimately, like, yeah, there are issues with WWE, I think, and I think like even with their toned down style, I think there are various issues with like injuries because we saw Big E get hurt off like overhead belly to belly
Yeah.
on the floor, right? No, I don't know who's to blame for that. I'm not going to point fingers, but it happened, and it was like a relatively safer move than what Kyle Fletcher took that people were like outraged over. And it's like the thing about wrestling, and I think Josh Alexander said it best in that tweet of his, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a guy who broke his neck and had a career threatening injury, and he's still going out there, you know, doing these kind of matches. It's like it all depends, and it really is a matter of proper training and proper conditioning in order to do that, proper timing. Just it's just crazy. And it's another thing is like people don't realize people can get fucked up and have their careers ended on simple things.
Well,
Paul Orndorff's career ended by giving someone a pile driver. He knocked himself out, and that was it.
well, and you pointed to Big E, like that's a very simple move for the most part,
Yeah,
but it just one thing went wrong, and now he can't wrestle anymore. And that's
yeah,
and that's that's true of pro wrestling in general. I mean, when you get into the ring, something could happen. Accidents happen. I
yeah,
mean, you remember when you were a kid and the whole draws and D'Lo thing. You know, like it was a running
yeah.
power bomb, something D'Lo did 100 times.
And the thing was about that, it wasn't so much the move itself; it was Draws's gear. Because apparently, like the reports that I read were like he had, remember how he had like safety pins on his gear because he was doing like, the whole alternative gimmick, right?
Yeah,
Like apparently, like one of them like got caught when he was trying to go up, and he didn't go up in time, and that resulted in the injury. And it's like a lot of little things can fuck someone's career up. Dude, Triple H had how many fucking near career ending injuries just from walking? Like, but that,
yeah.
then again, that's a whole different story, which is if we delve deeper into that, we'd be asking ourselves, how is this guy part of the Department of Health? And like, what the fuck?
Well, that's a whole other kind of worms that I don't think we have the. I don't have the patience to get into. To be quite honest with you,
Of all
um,
people, Triple H, a guy who has a fucking pacemaker, talking to people about health.
I never once put a needle in my butt. Never once.
I mean, there's creams.
Sure.
I'm not going to say much else.
Hey, you know more than I do because I don't know nothing about nothing.
I'm not
Hey,
going to say I've never done performance enhancing drugs in my 20s or anything like that, but
all
and
right,
I'll say this about steroids. If a wrestler knows how to use them right, then I have no problem with them using them because it helps with recovery. Like
sure.
that's a thing a lot of people are ignorant about. If they're using them and abusing them, like just to get big, then yeah, maybe like don't trust the fucking dude who shot fucking horse testosterone into himself just so he can fucking look like a swelled up gorilla in 2002 when he's going back to Madison Square Garden.
Sounds like you're speaking on something specific there.
If it is, it's a pure coincidence. Wink.
Purely coincidence.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I asked you the other day, and I even told you, man, I have delusions of grandeur. Sometimes I think about what it would be like to open a wrestling promotion and do an event. And you're like, don't do it. And
Jay,
yeah,
you there?
I'm here. I see
Uh,
you.
it said you cut. It said the connection fucked up for a moment. You went out like right after you said opening a promotion.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, so I've had those delusions of grandeur of starting a wrestling promotion of doing essentially what you're doing right now with Epic Pro. And you said, don't do
yeah,
it.
don't.
Don't. And so I want to, I'm going to pick your brain because I'm obviously someone looking on the outside. I've never promoted a wrestling event, nor have I even tiptoed around it. But that's something you've done now. I believe this is your 12th show. So tell me,
12th or 13th,
okay,
somewhere in that ballpark.
12th or 13th show. Tell me what the process was like getting into this and why you don't recommend it.
I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I started it was frustration in the scene. You know,
Yeah,
like, and even before I started it, like, not so much frustration, like, exactly 10 years ago when I got back into the scene, when I came back to SoCal Uncensored, legit 10 years ago, I just realized that, holy shit. I wanted to do something where there was a showcase of like the best SoCal talent and shit. Cause I felt like there are a lot of good talents, but a lot of these promotions weren't doing enough to really properly elevate them. Because yeah, there would be some shows that had good local talents, but how many of them were really fucking like putting their shit out there? You know, a lot of them would rely on that one fan, Rogelio Fan de Lucha, to fucking fan cam their shows and post shit on his YouTube channel.
yeah,
And it's like promoters are fucking lazy. They weren't getting their shit filmed and put out there, and that was one thing I really wanted to change. Thankfully, that all changed, right? Um, but I also like started getting involved with a bunch of promotions, and like I always kept a lot of shit on the low. I think the main one that some people might know that I worked for was B Boys Ground Zero in San Diego. Like I was really just not, doing much like publicly, but I was helping out a lot with Benny. And eventually I started working with MPW and shit. And, I wanted to do things with them, but nothing ever panned out. Right. And when I like started it or started thinking about doing this was like right after I left MPW, and it was like right after the pandemic, everything was opening up. And I saw we had all this good talent around. But again, it was like nobody was really putting them on the right shows. Nobody was really doing, anything good with these talents. And it's still like that to this day because you'll see shows that'll have like a couple good wrestlers, and then you'll see the rest of it are just full of like just a bunch of fucking people who aren't properly trained, people who don't take it seriously, people who are just there to just fucking fuck around and hang out with their friends, Like most of this shit you see in Orange County. And it's like it's like fans deserve better than that. And the workers who are putting themselves out there working hard, they deserve better too. And like I also notice, and it's still a problem to this day, there's a lot of great talent only working once or twice a month, if ever. And meanwhile, there's a lot of shitty talent who are working almost every weekend. And it just blows my fucking mind. And like when I started this, like I initially had an idea. I had contacts with venues and people, wrestlers and production people, blah, blah, blah. So it was really a matter of getting all those organized and talking to venues. And the first venue I was going to work with ended up just fucking, it ended up being a nightmare. Right. And that resulted in me running Cudahy. And ultimately, the biggest thing is like, as time was moving on, there ended up becoming more increased competition. And the biggest like factors in that is, and I'm sure some people in the business are probably going to hate me saying this, but seeing all these fucking outside promotions come into LA and running more shows and having higher ticket prices, right? In this economy as well, it's really going to end up hurting a lot of promoters like me in the long run. And it has.
yeah,
And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and just be like, fuck these companies, blah, blah, blah. It's like a matter of this is the way, you know, capitalism is, right? And it's really more of a matter of like, unless you're spending a lot of money to bring in big name talent, then you're probably not going to get any attention unless you fucking go out there and work hard for it. Like in this show, this past show, I haven't been able to do that because of personal shit, you know. I haven't
Yeah.
been able to fly or do any of that shit, which sucks. And it's like I see all these other shows coming to LA, and all they got to do is post a big name on social media, and all of a sudden they're almost sold out of tickets that cost like $50 at the least, you know. And it's like people are going to make decisions. Are they going to want to go to this show with a big name, or are they going to want to go to this show with really good names but nobody really big, and they can, you know, possibly see somewhere else, you know, in this possibly the same shows those bigger names are. So it's like obviously they're going to make a choice, you know. It's not, again, it, we're in a bad economy. If it was like maybe 10 years ago, excuse me, birth, then maybe like we'd see more people like supporting smaller promotions. There are some promotions out here that are doing good, like East Los Lucha and shit. But it's like I feel like a lot of other promotions and even East Los Lucha to an extent are just overlooked. You know, Winter Circle I feel like is overlooked. Rival Pro is overlooked. I feel like Santino Bros shows are overlooked, and you know we should all be doing bigger numbers than we're really doing. But at the same time, it's like now we're in a landscape where we got to compete with GCW, we got to compete with West Coast Pro, got to compete with House of Glory, because it seems like the perspective was, you know, and I'm not saying this is directly from anyone, but this is from people I've talked to, like who, you know, seem to think this way, that like SoCal's dried up, you know, and like the Young Bucks even said it, SoCal's dried up, and it seems like promoters are from outside are looking at LA as an opportunity, you know, to come here and expand their brand. Like, hey, do what you got to do, right? You know, if you're a businessman and you can make money, go for it, right? But at the same time, it's like I think a lot of us promoters out here in LA and SoCal are like continuing to have to play catch up.
Yeah.
And like we're trying to get like to a certain point where we can get recognition without having to fight for every fucking ticket sale we have, right?
And
And to
some
also like have our talent at a point where they're not being used as random fucking people in a scramble match because promoter either overbooked or underbooked a show, just
yeah.
so we can fucking put their people over whenever they come to town. And like, you know, that's one thing. Another thing is like venues. Venues are just tough to deal with these days. You can either find a really great venue, but it's going to cost a shitload of money, possibly as much as your entire budget for the show, not counting the fucking venue cost.
Yeah.
Or you find a really great venue, really great price, but you're at their mercy when it comes to booking dates because they constantly get filled up.
Yeah.
And especially in LA, like it's just tough. Like I'll I'll say this, right? I found this one venue in Frogtown, which is along the LA River, right by Dodger Stadium, like right by the 5 freeway, and it was like an indoor outdoor soccer place.
Okay.
And they have parties there and all this shit. The cost was like, I'm not gonna put the cost out there, but this was like 2021,
Okay.
2021, I should say. Just a few, like 5 years ago, they wanted an obscene price.
Sure.
And here's the worst part: there was no fucking parking for anyone. It's a residential area where all the streets were already packed as it is
Yeah.
during the fucking weekday, you know? So it's like, it would have been a nightmare. And like, there's other venues that are like, that other promoters like I know use, and like there's one specific venue that opened up, and some people are going there. You know, it's like finding out the price is like, nah, not fucking worth it. You know, it's like it's just ridiculous. So it's like, yeah, dealing with outside promotions coming in and like um making the market harder for smaller promotions to really thrive and gain attention. That's one thing. But the biggest thing is the venues. Fuck the venues, man. A lot of these guys are greedy. And if you end up like talking to a venue that's like controlled by like fucking Live Nation or some shit, then it's like they have like all these ridiculous demands. Like they want a cut of your ticket price, ticket sales, and they want like a percentage of all merchandise sales, whether it's you, the promoter, or the wrestlers themselves, right? Which is fucked up because a lot of these wrestlers are selling T-shirts for like $20, and now this venue's like, hey, give me fucking $10 for every shirt you sell, and it's like that doesn't help them come close to breaking even most of the
No,
time, and it's like it just sucks, out here in LA at least. I'm sure there's places in like at least where you're at, like where it's more feasible, when it comes to pricing and demands and all that. But it's also like, you know, if you really want to run a show in LA or in the LA area or OC, you can probably run a fucking shitty little venue and get a small fucking low boy ring that's like 14 by 14, get a bunch of fucking cheap, untrained talent. Yeah, you can make money that way, but like to run a legitimately genuine show these days, it's just tough. And again, some fucking promotions get by through different means. Some have a school where they make their money and they just run shows with talent who are willing to work for little to no money so that they can help pay rent on their shit. It's like, there's some ways. And like I said, there's promotions out there who use barely trained wrestlers or wrestlers who will work for like fucking $20 or just for a rep, and they charge outrageous prices like 25, 30, $40, and they're not even bringing in any name talent. And I get it. I get it. We got to make money as a business,
yeah,
as promoters, but it's also like, at what point and to what extent, like, does profit matter more than putting on a good product?
I,
Like,
yeah. I see that into kind of what you were talking about. You know, it's not the first time that California has kind of been targeted by outside areas. I mean, we go back in history, the 80s when the Grand Olympic was basically coming to conclusion, and then you started getting more of the WWF events. You were getting AWA events. You were getting even WCW at the time,
Jim Crockett
Joe
Promotions, Mid
Crockett
Atlantic.
Promotions, and they came in fast as soon as that they saw that the Olympic was gone. And the whole area got kind of picked away pretty quickly, and we see that constantly. In Southern California right now, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, when they were around, you look at who was coming into town. ROH wasn't coming and running shows in
Mm,
LA. Nobody really was. It was kind of like, you had Lucha Vavoom, of course, which is, they do their shows. There was a handful of indies. Dave Marquez is always doing what Dave Marquez does, but realistically, there wasn't a lot of outside influence. Again, no ROH, no MLW, nobody was coming into SoCal the way that they are now. And like you mentioned, Game Changer, and then you mentioned West Coast Pro, and then even like House of Glory is coming. I
yeah.
feel like you're right. There is a lot of oversaturation of outside promoters coming to Southern California. But who do you blame for that? Do you blame them for taking the opportunity, or do you blame your fellow promoters for allowing it to happen?
I don't really blame, again, like I said, I don't blame those promoters for coming here if
Yeah,
they can see an opportunity to make money. Like, it is what it is. Excuse me. I'm drinking mineral water right now.
how does that make
Um,
you feel?
huh?
How does the mineral water make you feel?
It tastes good.
I've never been a fan of mineral water.
Yeah, I like mineral water.
I
You
go out
know,
of the tap, man. Not out
uh,
of the tap, a filter, but yeah.
I drink bottled water as well. But anyway, like I don't like I said, I don't blame outside promoters from coming here all the time. It's like I just think it kind of sucks that they don't see what like the unintended effects of what they're doing to the local promotions is. Excuse me. I think that's third or fourth burp.
Everyone take a shot each time you hear a belch.
Oh,
Just go
you're
and take
gonna
a shot.
die by the end of this podcast. No, but like it'd be easy to say, oh, I blame GCW, I blame West Coast. It's really a matter of like it's frustrating because I just hate the fact that I have to worry about like scheduling a show on one of their dates. Like that's the biggest thing. If there were like less shows and like, okay, cool. In fact, it'd probably be better for them because they'd probably have more interest and more people wanting to go there to their shows, and they can grow their audience instead of like coming here every time,
Yeah.
charging what they charge for tickets, and then like people are just like, too many shows, I'm broke, blah blah blah, because it's going to end up hurting them,
Oh
and the
yeah,
economy is getting worse. But I don't blame them so much. Like if they can make their money, do what they got to and do what they got to do. Cool, whatever. As long as they don't fuck with me, it's all I care about.
not
But
to name
I,
drop Brett Lauderdale, but I mean, obviously the guy's doing something right because he's not just running in SoCal. He literally runs everywhere. He's got shows in Arizona, San Diego, LA. He's doing events throughout the U.S. I mean, obviously he's doing something right because he's drawing enough to keep doing what he's doing unless he's got a mad side hustle.
I mean, I kind of feel like I understand the formula a little bit of GCW, but it's also like one of those things where it's like you cannot pull it off unless you've been able to accomplish what they accomplished. Because like
Sure.
I think what really popped off for them was like, CZW had hype, and then like shit started falling apart with them, and then Nick Gage was having his comeback after prison, and then he was lining up with Brett Lauderdale, and they were doing CZW stuff. They were invading fucking shows as a shoot, you know,
Yeah.
pissing off DJ Hyde, and then they had the Zandig Joey Janela match where they fucking fell off the roof, and that set everything off. And like Joey Janela, I think he was working with that guy John Carlo, or I don't know what his name is, but he was like the video producer. I think he works for AEW now, who would
Yeah.
make all these cool videos, and that would get people so hyped on GCW. And they would be booking all these random shit shows with all this random shit that was just like that appealed to a certain audience, right? Like where it's like at one point they had that guy Dustin Thomas, no legs. It's like they're booking a dude with no legs on these shows, and then like one match you're gonna see a guy with no legs, another match you're gonna see a crazy fucking lucha match, another
Yeah.
match you're gonna see an indie guy that no one's really talked about in 10 years come back, have a banger match with someone like Tony Depp, and then you have crazy death matches. Like GCW had that formula and it was working because nothing on the indies was really fucking catering to that audience, to that hardcore fan that also liked traditional wrestling and shit.
What now? Let me ask you this question because from the promoter mindset.
Oh, I never mentioned who I blame for all this shit.
Okay, blame.
I blame a lot of the SoCal promoters who came before me and a lot of the talent who just have a really lazy, like narrow-minded approach to wrestling. Because like there are just so many promoters who care more about making money. And I understand it's a business. You got to make money to keep going and all that shit. But like when you're fucking booking dog shit shows and you're just booking whoever just so you can save money instead of like trying to book the best matches, it's like it not only turns off fans but also hurts the workers because a lot of these promotions aren't pushing the best wrestlers. Like Chris Nasty's finally getting pushed in several promotions. He should be a top guy. Jordan Cruz should be a top draw. All these fucking guys we have out here shouldn't be on the fucking undercards of these other shows, right? But because we've had such shitty fucking bookers, right? Even still to this day, there are promoters and bookers out here in SoCal who just don't fucking get it, and they're just booking dumb shit. And
Chris Chris Nasty. I mean, I go down to TJ, watch the Lucha Libre down there. I mean, he's getting booked with AAA, dude. I mean, I know it's not like the official AAA office and it's like an offshoot, but they're using the AAA name.
I
And
mean,
Chris Nasty's literally wrestling in a AAA ring. I think that's pretty fucking impressive.
I wish it was CMLL. I'm just gonna say that,
What's that?
but
Say it again.
I wish it was CMLL, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Look,
But
same man,
yeah,
and I understand what you're saying too with that, but I mean, realistically,
Lucha politics are a bitch.
of course they are, and I mean, like, look, there is definitely an alliance of promoters on the top right. You've got what Tony Khan's doing with AEW, partnering with CMLL, partnering with New Japan, partnering with Rev Pro in the UK, and then you've got here, even in the States, MLW is still partnering with CMLL and partnering with New Japan Pro Wrestling,
Japan.
except for they're getting kind of more like the B level prospects and not the superstars that Tony's getting, and they're doing this in concert, and it's not really there's no like crossover between MLW and AEW, but it's still on the side of Lucha Libre, especially with the Crash and the Luca Libre, and that's the CMLL, Lucha
Oh,
and
I was gonna say,
TJ.
what the fuck is Luca Libre? Like, did
Okay,
Luca
so
Doncic start a fucking?
no, no, Luca Libre is I don't know who exactly runs it, but they run in the auditorium in TJ,
Okay,
and
so
it's
they're
like
the CML affiliate.
yeah, they're the
Okay,
CMLL affiliate. So when Tito and Shay went down to TJ, they were wrestling for Luca Libre.
okay, that
Whereas,
promotion I'm aware of.
yeah. Anyway,
You
uh,
heard about this one promotion called the King Promotions that runs out here?
no.
Like yesterday, apparently they had shows in like Oxnard and San Bernardino, and like they had CMLL down.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah,
like they
yeah.
were like advertising Persephone, but I think like Tessa Blanchard showed up instead. I'm not sure, but yeah, kind
There's some people out there that don't have a problem with Tessa Blanchard,
of, yeah.
and
They
as
had
a
Beast Mortos and Mystico at one show apparently too, which I wish I knew about. I would have gone to that shit.
yeah, well, and yeah, they did the Fox Theater here in San Bernardino.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do know that, and I think Jesse Hernandez was help promoting that stuff. Out
Mm,
here. Of course, they've actually done a few shows, but I didn't know that was under. I honestly thought those were just like paid shows for the
I
arena.
mean, yeah, like Lucha's weird. I'll just say that.
It's a
I
very
love it though.
same. Like I feel like more than anything else, I enjoy lucha libre. Like that's why I keep going down to TJ because it's like I'd rather it's not cheap to get across the border. Whether you're going across the border in your car or if you're paying to park and then crossing over, you're like I'm $20 before I even get to the venue. To take an Uber to the auditorium, that's another $10. It's not much, but it still adds up. You know, but the ticket's like $12. And no disrespect, but you can't put on that show for a $12 ticket. They can because it's like 3,000 people in that building at $12 a person. It's not that bad.
Sponsors.
And then their front row, like their last show had Alberto El Patron. They charged like it was like $180, for the US.
American, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not paying $180 for El Patron. Screw that. But
Yeah.
there were the front row was sold out for sure.
I mean, they like I know a lot some lucha promotions, at least like the more well-known ones, like thrive on tourist dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not like so much rely on them, but tourist dollars definitely do help, especially with CMLL. From what I hear, like they sell like thousands of tickets to Americans every week. So
When I went to Mexico City for CMLL, like I wasn't the only American there, but it wasn't a packed show. It was a Sunday show, the family shows, and it was like the arena was half empty, but even a half empty arena in Mexico is still bigger than most venues in
it's
Los
like eight
Angeles.
thousand people.
Yeah.
I wish I could fucking have a half-empty arena in Mexico. I
Yeah, man.
would kill for that shit.
Isn't it funny somebody else's like bad day would be a good day for us?
Oh man, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
You said it, brother.
Yeah,
Um we were talking about GCW and some of the things they did that really kind of helped them catapult to that next
yeah.
level. I'm curious as your opinion because we've never talked about this before, but obviously Matt Cardona is one of the guys that took advantage of GCW being like the it promotion. He attached his name to it, and they seem to both have like a symbiotic relationship where they had success promoting. Cardona was promoting them; they were promoting Cardona. Do you think that Cardona had an impact on GCW, or do you think that's just manufactured media bullshit?
I mean, I think a lot of what wrestling is today is manufactured media bullshit.
Sure.
Like it just all seems forced to me. Nothing seems genuine, and I think there's like a lot of people out there who don't really see that. They see because like look, to peel back the curtain, I know you and I are friends, right?
Sure.
But you're not going out there fucking talking about like me the way so many other people are talking about like other promotions are, and when you see it, it's obvious, right? Like it's not so much a friendship thing; it's more of like these people want to latch on to something, and they'll do what they can, they'll say what they can, just to get themselves like there are a lot of cloud chasers in wrestling media,
Yeah.
and it's like it's like I'm not saying this about GCW. I'm saying about wrestling in general. Mainly, look at WWE and look at TNA and look at how the media treats AEW and shit. Like I'll say this: like the media treats GCW well because the perception is they're the new ECW, and I'm sure they probably have good relationships with Brett Lauderdale.
Yeah,
No hate there. It is what it is. You know, I don't have that fucking relationship with any fucking media personality and shit, except for you and Steve Bryant. And Steve spends most of his time fucking traveling the world in, weird places. Shout out Sidetrack Adventures.
Sidetrack
Um,
Adventures, my favorite YouTube channel next to this one.
and yeah, it's like, Brett's been able to like take advantage of it, and I'm not sure if he's doing it on purpose or whatnot. But like a lot of these people who listen to a lot of these media figures have like some weird parasocial relationships, so they just latch on to whatever they're saying. Like I've heard you on Busted Open radio before, my friend,
Yeah, no,
and
that's
I'll tune in once in a while, and it's like, to me, it's like it's such there's a level of brainwashing in
oh for
wrestling
sure.
media. And it's like when we're fucking like having to hear takes from fucking Bully Ray, and people are like, he's right, man, because he's a two-time Hall of Famer, and blah blah blah. And then Dave LaGreca's there just fucking glazing him and shit. It's like and people listen to this shit. And a lot of people think that just because these guys are on a platform that, they're right and that they know what they're doing. But the fact is, it's like when did Bully Ray ever have an actual major world title run that wasn't in TNA, an actual fucking promotion that you know grew because of him?
Well, yeah, and
What
I mean,
happened with him in Ring of Honor?
yeah,
We're listening to that fucking guy, and it's like there was another thing. I was listening yesterday during the afternoon to this show called Off the Ropes, and it was with Jonathan Coachman and Nick Nemeth.
okay,
And at one point, they were talking about Sami Zayn wearing sweatbands. And then they were like, "Yeah, like when they wear sweatpants, they don't like connect with the regular people. If you see Drew McIntyre in his suit at the airport, you're gonna turn around like, oh wow, who's that?" And it's like these fucking brain dead fucks who've been like brainwashed by Vince McMahon and his fucking goofy ass way of thinking. Like, wear suits and shit. You're gonna be looking champion. You wear sweatpants. You're gonna look like no one's gonna care. It's like they're so disconnected, and then they're spreading their disconnected rhetoric to people who don't know better. Like, and then those people repeat all the same shit, and it's just like wrestling media. I would say is way worse than political media. Because it's like, listen, yeah, AEW had like a rough stretch a few years ago,
sure.
but like the last 2 years, they've been putting on some of the best fucking wrestling television that I've seen, and yet we still hear fucking people like Bully Ray going, you know, I don't like this, and listen, I'm a two-time Hall of Famer, so you got to listen to my opinion, even though I could die of high cholesterol any moment now. Like, it's like people are trashing all this shit, and now fans are just feeling like they can't enjoy most wrestling
Do
anymore.
you think, first of all,
Yeah.
I have heard Dave LaGreca say only positive things, well, mostly positive things about what AEW's been doing in the last 4 to 6 months.
Okay, let me interrupt that really quickly
Interrupted.
before you continue. Sorry to cut you off. I listened to Bust It Open the day after the last Dynamite, right? You
Okay,
know what the first 40 minutes were?
maybe I missed it. What was it?
Okay. First 40 minutes were basically Dolph Ziggler talking about TNA a little bit that night. Of course, they have a show that night.
Yeah,
And then they fucking went on a long discussion about fucking hair metal transition bands like Guns N' Roses and Skid Row.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Anytime there's an AEW show that's great, they usually spend the first hour talking about 80s shit. Okay. Now, bring up this last episode for a specific reason. After the second break, they were just like, it was 6:40 in the morning. I remember this because I was getting ready to go to work. Fucking MJF called into the show,
Yeah.
and they said, "Oh, MJF's calling." And he's like, "Hey, AEW had a fucking great show last night, and you fucking guys are sitting here talking about fucking 80s metal." And he fucking set them straight. You know, like, okay, we'll go back to talking about. And like, here's the thing, like, sure, David Grecker will probably say some good things, but Buzz It Open, like when you look at the coverage of AEW like
Sure.
night after his show versus the coverage of WWE the night after his show, it's a stark difference, you know? And like it's just basically Busted Open and that entire platform, which I used to listen to because it had MMA and boxing coverage. Like it's just Fox News for WWE and to an extent TNA. It's all it is.
Well, I mean, and I'm laughing, but you think about it, they don't really talk about anybody but the WWE. They don't really, they do their TNA talk and they will talk AEW, but like when was the last time they covered a GCW show? When was the last time they covered MLW? And they even have hosts on the show, what's his name? The Baron Corbin, Bishop Dyer. He's an MLW wrestler. They don't even get into MLW. They don't talk
Yeah.
about the NWA anymore. They've never once talked about the United Wrestling Network, and I don't think that they would ever talk about a promotion like what you're doing. They don't
Yeah.
even talk about some of the bigger indies like Wrestling Revolver. They don't talk
Prestige.
ROH. Nothing.
Like Prestige is going to come to a close, and whenever I would skim through like some of the shows, like when they would talk about indies, you know how often they talk about it? Never, unless there's someone who's like they're interviewing adjacent to one of their people. Like
Sure.
they had somebody from like I think like a promotion that Mark Henry's involved with, and
Yeah.
Mark Henry's like a regular co-host on that show. And so it's like, and it's not just Busted Open. It's just a lot of these media figures just don't want to take chances, and they don't want to like you know talk to any of these fucking promoters, not just myself, but anyone else on in the trenches. Like how come no one from fucking like one of these indie sites is reaching out to like Rob or Adam from Rival Pro or Brennan and Britton from Winter Circle Pro? How
Yeah.
come no one's fucking reaching out to Joey Chaos in the wrestling media to talk about fucking Brody King's meteoric rise? It's like, yeah, I mean, wrestling media just sucks. Like when they do cover indie wrestling, it's just the same 4 or 5 promotions over and over, and that's not going to help anyone grow. Like, and another big thing is like I don't see anyone reviewing shows anymore, which is kind of sad. Like I remember like the biggest reason why I got into independent wrestling promotions, when I got deeper and deeper was reading, reviews from various people. And now it's like everyone thinks, oh, Dave Meltzer reviews everything, and if Dave Meltzer says something about it, then we either take his word for gospel or we try and crucify him for not agreeing with us. And it's like it's just there's no balance and there's no integrity in wrestling media, and it's just nothing more than like clickbait bullshit and attention seeking cloud chasers. Like I've said before, like just seeking to make like just looking to make content instead of looking to like inform people of what's going on, and I think that sucks.
One time back in 2012, we had Frank Cuerda. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He used to be the editor in chief for Pro Wrestling Illustrated back in the day, and he came on the podcast, and yeah, I kind of asked him, I'm like, why is it that we see on the cover every week? And this was 2012. Why are we seeing John Cena? Why are we seeing CM Punk every single magazine? Why don't I ever see Scorpio Sky? And at the time, certain wrestler who we don't talk about anymore. Why don't we talk about them? Why aren't they on the cover of your magazine? He goes, simple guys. I love Scorpio Sky. I think his work is great. I watch him in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I've seen some of his other stuff. But you know what? At the end of the day, we're selling magazines. And unfortunately, wrestler that we don't talk about anymore doesn't sell magazines.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and this was again 2012. Scorpio Sky stature has risen a lot since, but Scorpio Sky doesn't sell magazines. John Cena
Yeah.
does. CM Punk does. And that's always kind of stuck with me. So every time I see something related to the media, with wrestling only, what's going to sell the magazine? What's going to get
Yeah.
people to listen in? WWE has the biggest audience, so of course they get the most play time. Because if I start talking about GCW or not me, but somebody like Busted Open or Between the Ropes, whatever. Even Chris Van Vliet, like if he goes and starts talking about Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling, what they're doing in Canada, yeah, some of the Canadian fans will be excited. Some of the people from Toronto will be excited. But then the rest of the United States are like, I don't fucking care. It's Maple Leaf. And that's more of a byproduct of people not really getting out there and truly understanding the sport of pro wrestling. And I feel like if all you do is watch WWE, then you're very much limiting yourself to your enjoyment of wrestling. Like you're enjoying sports entertainment, a style of wrestling. You really need to experience all levels of pro wrestling, or at least give it an opportunity. Because if you like buddy cop movies, that's cool. But there's also superhero movies, and there's like ninja movies, and there's all kinds of genres out there. And I feel like the same thing with pro wrestling. There's different styles of wrestling, different promotions, and from one promotion to the next. Some of the talents you use, West Coast Pro Wrestling use,
Yeah.
but it's not the same fucking show.
Yeah, and you bring up like wrestling is like movies. It's like I've always said before, wrestling to me is like music. There's various types of music. Nothing has to be the same. It's like presentations don't have to be the same. Not everything has to look like a big concert with fancy lighting and shit. It could look like a punk show where the band's on the fucking floor like singing with the crowd and shit. And like you brought up something, Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine, and like what's weird to me about that quote, it's like, yes, I understand. Got to sell magazines. You got to push,
Yeah,
product and all that. But Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine was also a gateway for me to finding new promotions back in the mid 90s
yeah, for
when they
sure.
had their rankings and they also had coverage of ECW shows, right? I mean, of course, it's a territorial thing, and Paul Heyman was a former WCW guy, but still, like, there was attention to different promotions back then. And it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say every media organization that covers wrestling has to, like, give everything, like, equal coverage, like 10% to WWE, 10% to AEW, 10% blah, blah, blah across the board till it's all evened out. Like, you can have, a certain amount of WWE content, but I feel like a lot of these media outlets really need to have non non WWE, non AEW, non TNA content as well, even if it's only 10 to 20% of their coverage, because one, it'll help their audience become more familiar with these people and eventually gravitate towards independent wrestling and non like mainstream American professional wrestling and shit. And two, it's like how do we expect the grassroots to fucking flourish? How do we expect to grow the seeds in professional wrestling if we're not fucking nurturing them, if they're not watering them, and they're not getting any sun? And the wrestling media is the sun, and I think like the sun needs to shine more on the fucking this roots on the fucking scene in professional wrestling, not just in SoCal but everywhere.
Yeah,
Like everyone talks about prestige wrestling going out of business, and yeah, that sucks for people up in that area, but it's also like they have Defy, they have Relentless Wrestling. It's not like that entire scene is gonna die. People were upset when Deadlock announced that they were going to stop running shows, and yeah, that sucks too. But now it's like, hey, all the attention that Deadlock got could go to other promotions now.
yeah,
It's like it's like, yeah, I know instant gratification is king in society these days, but we also need to be like trying to again grow the sport and grow the industry, grow the business, grow the art, by looking at beyond what's on our television screens. And part of that falls into like part of that responsibility does belong in the wrestling media. So
yeah.
I don't want to like say much more because I can't really articulate this very well. I'm sounding like a fucking idiot, but
No, no, I think you've perfectly articulated what you're saying. Like it's a symbiotic relationship. The media needs to support the pro wrestling. The pro wrestling needs to support the media. And you making yourself available today, certainly, my limited audience is out here, and they're at least hearing about what you're doing. Whether they tune in or not is out of our control, right? But
yeah,
you do the best you can by getting the word out there. I do the best I can by helping you spread that word, and hopefully you get a new person to check it out, whether they come down to the Bill Greene Sports Complex on the 31st or they watch on Triller a few days later. I mean, either way, the
February
idea is
2nd.
to try to capture as many eyeballs as you can on
Yeah,
your product, because that's honestly the currency that you're trading in. Is yes, of course you would love to have a full house, right? That's
yeah,
ideally you want a full house, you want a big gate, and then you want everyone to watch on Triller as well, so that you're getting it on both sides. But the reality is, like, you're going to be grateful for what you get at the gate, and
yeah,
hoping that you get some eyeballs, whether they're on Triller or elsewhere.
I mean, I'm happy with what I got right now because it's like what I've sold is more than what some of these other promotions will be able to sell, you know? So
Sure,
it's like, that's cool. And like, yeah, I would love to have like 500 people at my shows. I'd love to turn this into a living, but it's like, as long as I can survive, that's all that fucking matters. So that's really the big thing. But it's also like, it'd be nice not to have to fucking have this mentality where I have to fight for every single ticket sale, where I have to fight for every single view on Triller TV, where I have to fucking fight to convince people like, hey, if you like GCW, watch us. If you like Revolver, watch us. If you like fucking any of these fucking promotions, give us a shot. If you like West Coast Pro, you'll love us, you know. But like, it's like I gotta fight for that. I gotta
yeah,
be like, I gotta say what I gotta say, do what I gotta do. Fortunately, I haven't been able to do that like I mentioned, but it's also like it would be so much better if like again, like wrestling media outlets could just give people more chances,
yeah.
instead of just being like, let's talk about Raw again. Because listen, how many fucking podcasts do we need where people talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT? Like there's a million of them. Let's get some new things out there. Let's get some interesting things out there. And I think that will turn people on.
You know what, I agree with you. I don't think that I don't think what you're asking for is crazy. I just think the execution. You're right; it's not there yet. But
Yeah.
we can complain about that all we want, or we could talk about what's coming for Faded Not Jaded, which is again this Saturday, January 31st at the Bill Greene Sports Complex. Is it? I always call it Cudahy. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Kind
Because some people are like Cudahy. I'm like, really?
when I called the city to talk to the people I need to talk to when I book the events, they always had the voicemail. Thank you for calling the city of Cudahy.
All
So
right. Because like okay, someone got in my head, and I don't know who it was, but they're like it's Cudahy,
yeah,
Cudahy.
I'm gonna
Who's
have to
got like
talk to that person.
anyways, every time I see you load up these shows and I think, man, this is such a killer lineup. And, and I don't mean to sound like overly hyped, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
man, there's a lot of bangers on your cards. And a lot of the guys you book, I'm very happy that you're booking, right? And we'll get to, I want to go through the matches, but like, Bad Dude Tito, friend of the show, like I love Tito. I think he's one of the best in SoCal. Alpha Zoe is a guy who is really kind of coming out of, I feel like that guy has a shit ton of potential and just hasn't realized it yet. And with again help from promotions like you, getting these opportunities to be seen by a different audience. He was one of these guys that was mostly wrestling up north and like Hayward, and now he's kind of branching out from the NorCal, coming down to the West Coast a little bit more often, coming down to SoCal a little bit more often. Great talent, very entertaining wrestler to watch. You've given a home to Slice Boogie, you've given a home to Shane Haste. Even Vin Massaro is coming downtown. You got all these guys on this card, and the first thing I want to ask is, I know you're obviously in love with the with Royce Isaac and Alpha Zoe, because I know that's going to be a banger match. But what match is going to steal the show? Which one is going to give Royce and Alpha the most trouble in trying to really solidify that main event?
Way to put me on the spot with this one because I feel like almost all of these matches will, but I
That's
mean,
the promoter answer. Every match is gonna steal the show.
I mean, I truth be told, like, I mean, if I'm not gonna try and spoil much, but if I had to go by like when I'm like trying to put together time wise when it comes to like the matches and shit, I feel like Shane and Ray are gonna have a killer match. I feel like Jordan and Tito are also gonna have a killer match, but
Well,
I think the trios and tag matches are also gonna be really fucking loaded. So I think those four matches will be the ones to look out for besides the main event and Zusix and Amira. But like those four matches specifically, I think will have the best chances of stealing the show.
I will say this, man. Krusty Crew, who I feel like has been such an underrated tag team. I'm starting to see them get booked everywhere now. Like they were even at SoCal. They're the SoCal Pro Tag Team Champions.
That
So
promotion still exists.
yeah, uh, they are.
Boy,
They've been around for a while.
yeah.
I saw them at the GCW just I guess back in December, and the guys that they wrestled are now in AEW, and I feel like Lucas Riley and Dom Kubrick are very, very good at what they do. And then you put them in the ring against Doomfly, who, again, especially with your audience, I mean, they are so over. And I feel like Eli and why am I drawing a blank on her name?
Delilah,
Delilah, thank you. Delilah Doom, especially her whole gimmick is very entertaining. The fans always get behind.
the '80s fitness instructor.
It's
I,
our mutual friend Greg Sugimura used to tell me about how much he loved the gimmick, and I'm like, whatever. And then you see it, and you're like, oh shit, it works. It works really well.
it's like I wasn't really like when I heard about the gimmick too. I wasn't like sold
Same,
on it. I thought I was like, oh come on, never fucking comedy gimmick in wrestling. But then
yeah.
when you see her work, it's like she's fucking so good, and like her and Eli are such a great team, natural chemistry because they're husband and wife. And the thing about this match is like the first time ever tag team match between the two.
Which is wild because if I correct me if I'm not wrong, but aren't all of them like, regular Santinos?
Not only that, but they've all been on almost all the same shows and shit. And I think the closest, I mean, they've done trios matches, but
Sure.
this is the first 2-on-2 match between these two teams. So I'm really lucky to have fucking have that match fallen into my lap and shit. But I think it's gonna be crazy. I'm gonna tell Eli, you know what, you got the green light to fucking do whatever when it comes to the moves. If you guys want to kick out of a burning hammer in the first minute, I don't give a fuck. Just fucking do what you guys do.
Well, and I mean this in the most complimented way, but Eli definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to structuring a match, and I've seen him enough times to know like that guy has no fear when it comes to the ring.
He's one of these. Sorry to cut you off, but he's also like we touched on it earlier when I was talking about AJ Styles versus David Young. Like, 10-minute under matches are just like not the same anymore. Blah blah blah, because they're all like they're just all boring. But Eli's a guy who could have one of those sub 10-minute matches that are just like fucking wild, and it wouldn't matter. Like he'll fucking do a fucking drop kick, send someone outside the ring to start the match, do an offside moonsault, suplex him, and then fucking moonsault off bleachers in the first 5 minutes. And I love him for that, man. As a promoter, I love that. Like, I know a lot of like people in wrestling look down on that shit, but I'm for it because it gives the fans something to like enjoy and shit instead of like seeing all these fucking lame asses trying to fucking work heat and shit when they don't know how to do that or tell basic story structures properly.
Another match that I'm not familiar with either one of these ladies, but it's the offering from Pro Pandemonium, which I know you have been developing a working relationship with for a while now,
There's a story.
and we're getting Amira versus Zeus.
Zusix,
Zeusix.
former CMLL Women's World Champion who actually lost the belt to Mercedes Monet on Grand Slam Mexico episode of AEW Dynamite. So,
How did you get? First of all, how did?
hi, Frank.
Second of all, how did you get this match? And it was just obviously bringing in a talent from CMLL is kind of a big deal. Tell me
So,
about this one.
Pandemonium and Epic Pro were supposed to merge and be like under the banner of one company, but then they ran into some problems, and then the merger fell apart. I'm not gonna really put much detail into it, but like it was just one of those things where like, oh man, this is totally fucking me in the long run, and it sucked for Epic Pro for a while because like that resulted in me having to put the company in a hiatus after our last show because I wanted to run more shows with Pandemonium, and I had these shows already booked when Pandemonium and Epic Pro were going to merge, but then it fell apart, and I was stuck with these shows, and I spent money, when I didn't think I'd have to be financially responsible for Epic Pro anymore. I was like, fuck, I gotta fucking save more money now so I can relaunch this company this year, which is resulting in this show. But like, yeah, when that happened, Asan, the owner of Pandemonium, talked to me and we're like, it is what it is, but we'll still try and, do shit together. And, he hit me up and he's like, hey man, I'm sorry about, things falling through. He felt really bad about it, because like I got left up shit's creek without a paddle,
Yeah.
and it's partially is my fault for not saving my money. Just spending it. I needed a new TV. Um,
It's tax write off. It's deductible.
I'll try. Maybe I'll see if my CPA can pull it off. But yeah, like he said, he hit me up. He felt bad about it. He's like, "Hey man, I'll help you out," and you know, I don't really want to say much else, but like he offered, "Hey, I can get Zeusix on this show," and it was like, "Okay, cool." And then like his booker Nick Hart, he wanted to book Amira in the match, so it was like they're paying for it, so you know,
You can't beat that.
yeah. Thanks,
Uh,
Pandemonium. Thanks, Hassan.
uh, the next match that again I'm not super familiar with these guys, so I'm hoping you will educate me. Now I know who El Primo Hino is, but Andrew Cass and Damian Drake I'm not familiar with. They're taking on Los Salvecitos, Adrian Quest, Ricky G, and Danny Rose. I was in San Francisco. I watched those three at a West Coast Pro Wrestling show in San Francisco. Get so much heat because of the LA gear and representing the Dodger love.
Well,
My
fuck San
God.
Francisco and fuck the Giants.
Well, sure. Look,
Never go to San Francisco, LA all day, unless there's like a promotion up there. Doesn't have to be West Coast. It can be anyone who wants to, do a little
sure.
thing.
I went up there because I wanted to see an Angels game before Oakland
Yeah,
Alameda Stadium closed. I wanted to go to one of the last A's games, so I did that, and then
wonderful.
you know my idea of the perfect vacation is being able to see baseball and wrestling in the same weekend. So I was able to do that in the same day even, and I was able to get to see a West Coast Pro in San Francisco, which was kind of cool. But getting back to Los Salvecitos, those guys get over again, similar to the Krusty Crew, similar to Doomfly. They have no fear in that ring. They fly like crazy. And again, we talked about Lucha Libre. What I love about Lucha Libre is the lack of fear when a wrestler's on the top rope and will dive into a group or dive into the crowd or whatever it is.
Or when
They're
they
like,
blade in the middle of a crowd and they risk getting fucking MRSA just from brawling around the venue. And
I I've yet to see the blading in the fans in the crowd, but
uh,
I get to see lots of beer being tossed in TJ, and that's part of my
that's good
favorite.
enough.
No, that's great, man. I love seeing like I was sitting there one time. Sorry, off the rails here, but Deluxe and Rey Mysterio, El Hijo de Rey Mysterio, were fighting right in front of me, and at the corner of my eye, from up top in the balcony, somebody just hurls a beer, and it hits Deluxe, and it's everywhere. It gets me, it
Oh
gets the
man,
guys, and I'm just like, this is so insane. And the seats are all torn around, and then and Deluxe just looks up at the crowd like this, like, which one of you motherfuckers threw that thing? Like, what are you gonna do? Go after him? You got a
I'm gonna
match.
fight the entire fucking crowd. Were you at that XPW show when at the Pico Rivera Sports Arena when Shane Doug? Oh man.
I
Okay.
only
Well,
went to one XPW show, and I'll tell you which one it was. Um, it was the and I left before the ending, but it was the one with New Jack and
Vic Grimes,
yeah,
the
the
scaffold.
scaffold. I left before the main event because I was going to
Oh,
Vegas that weekend. So, but I was like, I want to go to an XPW show. Never been, and I was like, yeah, I don't ever need to go to another XPW show.
I went there with my friends, and mind you, I was like, I had just turned 14 at the time, and my friends are all relatively the same age, and we snuck down to the floor seats, and like we are like sitting in the fourth row, and we saw Vic Grimes nearly fucking die, and my friend, like I think you could see it on one of the angles, like he just jumps up from the seat and just starts running across the chairs trying to get a better look of Vic Grimes is fucking possibly deceased, but not actually deceased body. But yeah, Los Suavecitos are a great team. Damian Drake is Matt Vandergrift's tag team partner.
Okay,
He was supposed to be teaming with Matt and facing Ricky G and Danny Rose, but Matt Vandergrift unfortunately has to deal with an injury that's going to put him out for a while.
that
You
sucks.
know, hope you have a speedy recovery, Matt. So it ended up being a thing where the card wasn't fully booked. So I was like, I ended up like I was originally going to do Chris Nasty versus Andrew Cass because somebody sent me a match of Andrew Cass, who is a West Coast pro student, and he had a match with Chris Nasty down in San Diego for some promotion. I don't know what I'm talking about. Creep motherfuckers.
Just move
Anyway,
on. Just move on.
anyway, I saw this really good match, and I thought, they could have a really good match like that in a shitty venue like that. They could probably have a better match in a place where I have more space and all that. But then like shit happened, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna put Cass, Nasty, and Damian Drake in this trios match because card was starting to get a little full. And then Chris Nasty had to pull out because some a compromised Lucha Libre promotion wanted to book him for something. Can't say much else. Um,
Understood.
fuck monopolization. Anyway, um, but it sucks because I really like Chris as a performer and as a person, but I ended up getting Primo Hanyo, who I think is gonna be able to excel in this match, and it's just gonna be a bonkers trios match, which I think we've been doing a good job of putting on lately.
For sure. Another match that I think is going to be very interesting and a dichotomy of style. Che Cabrera, I feel like is super underutilized in the SoCal scene. I feel like Tito gets a lot of love, and I think it's well deserved. But I think Che deserves more love in the scene as well because he's a very good wrestler, and
Yeah.
they both look like freaking. They could, to me, and I mean this in a nice way, they passed the poster test. If you put the Che and Tito on any wrestling poster, they look like they belong on the roster. They look the part. They get in the ring. They can wrestle with anybody. But we don't see Che wrestle a lot of singles matches on some of the bigger cards. And he's going to be facing Brett the Threat, who again I saw for the first time with West Coast Pro as well. And he's a younger guy, but he has a great very collegiate style of wrestling, a lot of mat wrestling. And I think this is going to be a weird dichotomy that's going to really pay off. What made you book this match?
Um, Calder McCall, who was gonna be rebranded as Highlander McCall, was supposed to face Brett the Threat in this match, and unfortunately, uh, Calder suffered an injury. Fuck, I shouldn't have said that. I wanted to keep that on the low, but sorry, bro. I'm not going to specify what happened,
Sure,
but he had to pull out, and it sucks. I hope I can bring him back in the future. But this match was supposed to be something unique. Because both guys had shoot grappling backgrounds. I'm not going to say much because
sure.
this is a concept I've had in mind for the past year that I wanted to roll out with this match, but I think I'm going to have to delay it a little bit. So it was a matter of finding someone, you know, who could fucking fill in for Calder and have a good match with anyone. And Che was that guy, and Che was available. And I already have plans for Che in February, um, with the joint show with Pandemonium. But I won't say much else. But other than you know, spurred the moment booking kind of match. Thought fuck it. I got Che on deck. Gonna bring him in. So yeah.
I'm very familiar with Cameron Gates, and I think I first saw Cameron Gates with you at the first Epic Pro show that I went that you put on. I think that was your third one overall, but it was the first one I went to. I was like, wow, this guy's really talented. We need to see more of him in SoCal. He's taking on Raymond Bright. I don't know anything about Raymond Bright. Educate me. Who is this guy? Why is he on your card? Why does he get to wrestle Cameron Gates?
He can do flips.
All right,
For
sold.
real, for real though, like Raymond Bright came recommended to me by Royce Isaacs. Like I'd also seen some of Raymond's stuff like floating around on the highlight reels. There's this one fan, I forgot his name. I think his name is like Louis or something. Um, like his reels always pop up on my timelines, right? And again, apologies to if I get this wrong. I don't really know many people. I don't socialize in the wrestling circles much these days as much as I should, but like he has all these highlights of all the recent shows and shit that he goes to. They're really cool. Like if I could remember his like if his screen name, I would totally plug him. But he goes to a lot of SoCal shows. He puts together highlight reels of the shows, and I remember seeing some wrestlers that I follow on the Epic Pro page or on the Epic Pro roster sharing their shit or collaborating with that guy, and I've seen Raymond Bright a few times, and it's like, wow, this dude does standing shooting star presses. I'm booking him. But for real, like Royce Isaacs did put in a good word for him, and I brought him in on the last show back in August as a replacement for some people because people fell out, so I needed to rebook a match, and I brought him into a trios match team with Delilah Doom and Brooke Havoc. So um,
Where is he from?
I think he's from New York. I know he came from the East Coast. I
Okay.
know he trained at like House of Glory, and I think he came out here to the LA dojo and sort of like just sort of made a home out here.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he's good, and I enjoy his work, and I think like he's gonna have a really fun match with Cam Gates. I think they're like I hope it's a really fun sprint, but I think it's gonna be like fun no matter what they do. Like I think Cam works well with guys like Raymond Bright, and I think with Raymond Bright having the chance to work with a guy like Cam who's got like fuck, I think at least 10 years experience or at least coming up, and like all this like knowledge and shit. I think it's going to help him a lot. So that should be a fun match. Raymond Bright is a prospect to look out for, I think. And yeah, definitely a match to look forward to.
And that and that's I should have asked you this earlier, but do you ever go to scout like talent from the New Japan dojo in Los Angeles? Do you
No,
have someone there who scouts for you? I mean, I know you have connections with Shane Haste, and I think he coaches there, but do you ever go and look at that talent and be like, hey, this might be a good fit here, this might be a good fit there?
some people will come to me and say, hey, this dude's here at the dojo or, anywhere. Like somebody recently recommended, um, what's it, Jason Redondo's kid's name? Jake Redondo.
Oh yeah, yeah, Jake Redondo.
And I've been keeping an eye on him and shit, and like he's pretty solid. He's coming together. Like I think he could like use a little more time outside of the bubble he's kind of in because
Sure,
he's got so much potential to be like really great and shit. But it's also like it's just people will come to me and tell me make me aware, and it's like the only people who do that though are people I genuinely trust.
sure,
So it's one of those things where it's like if you come to me and you're recommended by someone that I trust, then your chances of getting booked are very high with me. Same thing with Primo Hanyo. Royce Isaacs, told me, hey man, he's ready, book him because, it's kind of sidebarring a bit. Like I remember when he first started, he was like this guy who like he started out under the name Hyde and he was doing some weird like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, I don't know. I don't exactly remember, but it was kind of like, it was just kind of weird. And then he became El Primo Genio, right? And he would just come out, he would pose, he would act cocky, but he would come out to Linkin Park songs. And like, it's just not, it's not a good fit when you have a guy like right singing songs about depression and shit, and you're out there posing and shit. It just doesn't fit. But then, like in the last 2 years, he's sort of like just it's all clicked for him. He gets it. He's found who he is. He's found his character. He's found his voice. Like he's realized, what works for him. And like he's had so many killer matches in Santino Bros last year. Like he had a great match with Eli Everfly where they fucking killed each other. He had a really amazing match with Lucas Riley that got praise for so many people, including Tito. He felt so strongly that he needed to tweet about it on Twitter when it happened. So like Primo is a guy who's starting to fucking like his stock is starting to rise, and I would suggest buying now while you can because he's gonna be a breakout star in the next 2 or 3 years. And if these promotions who come out here like GCW and West Coast Pro, House of Glory, if they keep coming back, if any of these fucking guys were smart, they would book him and fucking actually put him over instead of like having him go in a scramble match where he just does one or two spots and then fucks off so that some sloppy regular from the East Coast can fucking go over.
Tell me about the thought process for putting Slice Boogie and Vinny Massaro in the same match. Slice Boogie was a number one contender for the Epic Pro Championship not too long ago. and obviously had a pretty killer match with Royce.
Available on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, is that on YouTube?
The last show is actually up on our YouTube page, Epic Pro LA. So
Nice.
check that out after this shit.
I will. Like I thought it was only available on Triller. I'm
Well, it
just I'm
is too, but I decided to put it up on Christmas because
Merry
it was the
Christmas.
holidays, so it's like fuck it, let people check it out. It's just a sample. Don't expect every show to be free. I would love to, but YouTube don't pay well.
Well, yeah, no, you got to really plug out
But
YouTube.
this match was something, I had Vinny booked. Hold on. Hi Frank. Don't text me when I'm fucking doing podcast. I'm not responding. I'm not reading it right now. I'm sorry. But anyway, Vinny was a guy who I had booked. He wanted to come back, and I wanted to bring him back. And Slice is a guy who, I feel like him and Vinny sort of have like the same mentalities when it
Okay.
comes to wrestling and shit. Because like I, I don't want to pull back the curtain too much, but like at one point, when Slice and I were talking about this match, he was talking about how Vinny wrestled Misawa at one point, and you know the fact that Slice Boogie is a guy who can acknowledge and respect and admire that. It makes me feel like they're going to be a natural fit because it's like how many other fucking guys out here know who Misawa is,
Yeah.
and how many can say like they actually wrestled him. So we got a guy who's wrestled Misawa versus a guy who is really into Japanese wrestling and who wants to go to Japan and admires that style in Slice Boogie. So I felt like this was a natural fit. It's a first time ever as well. I think it's going to be a fun, hard hitting match. With maybe there will be some shenanigans, but I think this is going to be a good one.
Now another match that I think this might be the one that I'm looking forward to the most because I see a lot of comparisons between them in terms of style of wrestling. That's Jordan Cruz taking on Bad Dude Tito. I feel like they mirror each other quite a bit, and I feel like this kind of a matchup could really, I'm not going to say open up eyes because look, I feel like if you don't know who Bad Dude Tito is by now, that's on you, man. Like that dude's literally traveled the world wrestling. He's wrestled for New Japan. He's wrestled for CMLL. I can't say enough good things about Bad Dude Tito. Um, but then looking at Jordan Cruz, I'm starting to see him come into his own. The United Wrestling Network put their world championship on him. Tell me about this matchup. Tell me how you got here and what you are anticipating for this one.
I mean, I know they've worked singles matches together before, um, but I don't know if they had anything recently. And to my knowledge, like they probably haven't. So it's like, fuck it, I'm gonna book this match, because it's gonna be a bigger platform, and I think people are gonna be. Sorry, my dog is trying to go under his blanket. That's what he does. Um, what you want? I'm doing an interview here. All right, just lay down. Anyway, no, I just feel like this match is gonna be very hard hitting and very like from a style perspective, just very. I think they're just going to mesh, and I think it's going to be like one of these matches where it's like two guys who have this distinct style and viewpoint of professional wrestling
Yeah.
working each other, as opposed to like working guys who don't really exactly have the same fucking viewpoints and mentality for wrestling. I think they're both going to go into this looking to put on like just a hard hitting performance and you know, like styles make matches, and I think their styles will match up well and make for a fucking classic. So, um, I think this is one of those matches where people should definitely like check out and
Yeah.
go out of their way to see.
And I think the next match that I'm going to talk about too, again, Ray Rosas is a veteran of Southern California wrestling. I think he's earned a lot of respect in this area, whether it was through the Santinos or Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, MPW, and what he's done already with you guys at Epic. I mean, I feel like Ray Rosas really has solidified himself an authority, a veteran, a good hand, if you will, here in Southern California. And he got Shane Haste, and all the praise I heap on Bad Dude Tito, I throw the same praise on Shane Haste. He did work with the WWE. He is a phenomenal talent. He has been to Japan. He's done almost everything there is to do. And I'm honestly surprised that guy hasn't, signed a contract somewhere, on a full time basis because he's such a good talent. And you're gonna be able to feature these two guys. I don't think they've wrestled a lot in the past.
I'm pretty sure this is a first time matchup.
Yeah, and again, I think the world of both these guys, and I think we talk about matches that could steal the show. Ray jokes. Well, maybe he doesn't joke. Maybe he's serious. Ray talks about how he's getting up there, and he can't keep doing it. It's at a high level, but then he comes out and has a match, and he looks fucking great during it.
Oh yeah, Ray Rose is talking about retirement just like he did 5 years ago.
Didn't he do it like 10 years ago too? It's like
5, 10 years ago. I think like look, Ray's like around the same age range as me. And again, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I might look like I'm in my 20s, but I'm not. I kid. Um, but I feel like he's got a lot left to offer.
sure.
I don't know if, like, I honestly never know when he's joking or being serious about how he feels about his work in wrestling. But, like, you know, put that guy in a match with the right person, and you're going to get one of the best wrestlers in the world in Ray Rosas. And I feel like by the time his career is over, like people in SoCal are going to recognize him as one of the greats. Even if people outside don't really know much about him, I think at least here he's going to get his flowers. And with this match with Shane, it's going to be interesting. You know, two wild cards going at it. Um, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can produce.
And that takes us to the main event. Your Epic Pro champion, Royce Isaacs, who has defeated the likes of Scorpio Sky, Ray Rosas, Slice Boogie, and a handful of others.
Josh Alexander.
He did. When did he face Josh Alexander? When did I miss that?
The second anniversary. You were there.
No, I wasn't.
You
I would
were
have.
there.
No, I wasn't at the
The
Josh.
show with Mike Santana.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Oh, well, it's up on YouTube.
I'm gonna go check it out.
Yeah, it's a great match. That's why I put it on there.
Again, when we talk about throwing heaps and praises on guys, Royce Isaacs to me is a guy that I feel like he gets the right amount of celebration, but I feel like he deserves more.
Yeah,
Uh, him and
too
Jarrell
much is
Nelson.
never enough.
Sure. Well, him and Jarrell Nelson, made their debut down in CMLL earlier this year, wrestling for the open weight New Japan Strong titles. Um, he's a guy who I've seen, you know, championship wrestling from Hollywood. I've seen him in the NWA, and obviously, he's been working the independents. He's been working back in the home state of Colorado, but made history by being the first Epic Pro champion. That's a beautiful belt, by the way. Great
Thank
design
you.
on that one. Um,
Auntie
I
Heidi
don't.
designed it.
Yeah, you told me
I
that.
just gave her an outline, but she fucking
She
knocked it
killed
out
it.
of the
She
park.
killed it. It's a gorgeous belt, man, and
It's
I
gold too, legit gold.
bet that costs a lot of money for you.
Oh, I didn't pay for it, so thank God for that.
Well,
I'll,
moving on.
I'll talk about that story some other time.
So, but let's talk about it. Like, putting him in the ring with Alpha Zoe. And a lot of people don't know about Alpha Zoe, and I honestly I can't help you out if you haven't gone and done the research on this guy because he's a phenomenal athlete. I know the last show that I went for you, he wrestled Jordan Cruz, and I was just blown away by how good that match was.
Yeah,
He had a really good match when I was up in San Francisco. I think he wrestled. I want to say he was in the ring with um, Alex Shelley, and it was a really good match. Of course, it was Alex Shelley, but still, I felt like he put on a really, really good matchup. And then I've seen him have good matches at West Coast Pro when they've been down here in Southern California. He's a phenomenal talent. He even wrestled for the NWA National Championship. See, I bring everything back to the NWA when I can. He did that last year in Sacramento. So I guess, how did you get to this matchup? What did he do to capture your attention and make that a match where he needed to challenge your world champion?
Well, I thought his first two matches in Epic Pro were really great. The Slice Boogie match, which was his debut, even though he didn't win that one, and then the Jordan Cruz match. And then I had him and Ray um, at the anniversary show, which was the last show, also available on YouTube. Um, And you know, he really excelled. And I also had a feeling like maybe like he would be a good challenger for Royce as well, because I really needed to build up contenders. And when I put him in that Ray match, I didn't really realize that Ray was undefeated. He's a former contender. Challenge was the first one of the first people to compete for the belt. Also, the winningest wrestler in Epic Pro. I think still. So it felt like okay, well, I put him over Ray. Might as well. Like, what else is there to do after you've beaten Ray in Epic Pro? Like, because I want to position Ray Roses in the role where it's like he is the guy that if you want to get a title shot or you want to boost yourself into contendership, he is the guy you need to beat, because he proved like he was at the top before we had a belt. He was the uncrowned champion of Epic Pro before we had a title. So when that match happened, like it was really great. I even told Ray right after it, like that was one of the best Epic Pro matches ever, and I stand by that. And I think like Alpha Zoe and Royce, they would match up very well. And you mentioned Alpha Zoe getting pushed in different promotions, wrestling Alex Shelley. And the thing about like wrestling a guy like Alex Shelley is like anyone can wrestle Alex Shelley, you know. But just because someone's a great wrestler doesn't mean they can have a great match with another great wrestler. I
Sure,
mean, let me rephrase that. Excuse me. Just because someone's a great wrestler doesn't mean they're going to get a great match out of everyone. There's
sure.
still going to be shitty people who don't know what they're doing, and maybe at best have a good match. But with Zoe, it's like he is a guy that promoters can trust to be in a big match with a big name wrestler to not only have a great match, but to also like, you know, do things the right way, business wise and protecting people and all that shit. And I think him and Royce are just going to have a really great match. And it's also a first time matchup. And it's something where it's like, I expect like some hard hitting strikes and I expect like some really cool suplexes and shit for this match. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Why am I saying that? I'm the booker. I know what's going to happen. But it's going to be interesting to see how that match plays out heading into February 22nd with the winner defending the title in Don Quixote at our joint show with Pandemonium, which we haven't really talked about much. But
I don't know if we're gonna have time to talk about it because we're kind of up against it. But there's always next month, right?
yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that when we can. But yeah, um, this Saturday, tickets available at Eventbrite, faded not jaded.eventbrite.com. Tickets also available at the door. We'll accept cash, Zelle, PayPal, Venmo. But we prefer cash. Um, yeah, and then Triller TV airing will be on February 7th. I think it's going to be 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, mainly because, you know, what's there to do on a Saturday afternoon? Just watch wrestling. And
Once it airs on Triller First Run, does it just go on demand that you can
yes, it'll
watch it?
be on demand as well. So if you don't have time to watch it on a Saturday afternoon, and you don't want to watch the Super Bowl, you can watch our show instead. And yeah, just fucking
Maybe
watch it. Watch
maybe
the
do the
fucking
halftime
show,
show.
or I'm gonna fucking come to your house. And I had something comedic that I wanted to bring out, like make it. The joke's dead. And it's not gonna work. I'm just gonna abandon it.
Well, Andy, Andrew, Mr. Pesina, it's
Yes,
always good to speak to you again and talk some pro
likewise.
wrestling. Wishing you nothing but the most success on Saturday. I hope it's
Thank you.
a banger after banger, and I hope more of the wrestling media will start to look to SoCal for what it is, which is an opportunity to see really good wrestling.
Also,
Yeah.
I forgot to mention this, but we're gonna have prelim matches before the main card starts at 7. So if you're there and you're early, and when we open doors, at least 5 to 10 minutes after, depending on when we open, depending on how much how many people show up looking for an opportunity. I know at least we have one match that I'm really looking forward to for the prelims. It's going to be good. So
So if you're a wrestler, just show up with your gear because you never know.
if you want to work for free, because my budget's fucked already.
Hey, sometimes, hey, you know what? Like I'm not. I'm not advocating that everyone get the hot dog and the handshake deal, but sometimes the opportunity just to be seen is a good
I mean,
opportunity.
this is just for people who want reps. I'm not asking anyone for like 5-star matches. It's like this is just for people who want to come and get the experience in front of a crowd, which I'm mostly always open to. I'm not gonna just book anyone off the streets. Like
Well, I
how
should
do I
hope
know? How do I know that you aren't? That you should be on a speaking out list.
this
How
is
do
this is Epic Pro, not drizzling shits pro.
this isn't. There's a promotion I want to say, or two promotions I want to say out here, but it'll cause so many fucking problems in the scene if I said it. So,
Well, and I appreciate you for holding back because
yeah,
sometimes controversy creates cash, but we don't need
I
that
mean,
smoke.
I'm dealing with enough shit in my life as it is. So maybe in the next interview when I clear up some of that shit, I'll start unloading some more shells on some people out here.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're tame today, so maybe next time. Of course, for those of you who have been listening along, you could also stay social with Epic Pro on Facebook, at Epic Pro LA, X Epic Pro LA, Instagram Epic Pro LA, even on Big Sky Epic Pro Wrestling .bsky.social, and then of course on YouTube Epic Pro LA, where some Epic Pro matches are already there.
We have prelim matches. We have some free matches. We have a show. We have a bunch of random shit. I'm probably gonna post a blooper reel of promo outtakes soon. So, because I've always wanted to do that for the last 4 years. What else was I gonna say? Oh, I'm not gonna be using TikTok anymore. So just wanted to put that out there. Fuck
I'll
TikTok now.
I'll send you the dad jokes on Instagram.
I was gonna say I'll follow. I'll try and follow Buckets for Rent on Instagram if I have to.
Shout out to Buckets for Rent. All right, brother Andrew, you have a go, man. Good luck this Saturday. Again, nothing but the success and good times for you, brother.
Thank you for having me, Jay.
We'll see you guys next time at the matches.
Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are the